What's up everybody, Matt Maran here for another weekly update. So there's lots of interesting and exciting news to go over here this week. But before I get into all the news this week, I first want to say I will be doing a live stream here this Sunday at noon Eastern time like I always do. And it's always a great time just doing a live Q&A, just talking cars with you guys and hanging out. So join if you can. And the first news story this week is something that actually came out after I filmed this weekly update, but it's the biggest news of the week, so I didn't want to miss it in this week's update. So I first have to say that Volkswagen has revealed the US version of the ID. Buzz, and they finally announced its release date as well. So it will be arriving in the US in the third quarter of 2024. So still like a year and a half away almost, but there's a good amount of changes for this long wheelbase version of the Buzz. It's 10 inches longer than the current European version, which now provides enough room for 3 rows of seats, but it still will only seat 7. To compare, it's almost a foot shorter than a Chrysler Pacifica, but has a wheelbase that's about 6 inches longer than a Pacifica, and it's so boxy that it's also about 5 inches taller than a Pacifica. But even with it being shorter than a regular minivan, it looks like the third row is very spacious. Those rear 2 rows can also fold flat, all 3 rows slide forwards and backwards, and the third row can actually be removed too. Other interior touches are that it has a huge sunroof that has tech built in to turn it opaque if you're not in the mood for sunlight. The side glass also has little sliding windows to help with airflow since none of the other rear windows can open up. And it gets an updated version of Volkswagen's infotainment screen that now has those capacitive touch sliders illuminated, and the software has been reworked to be more user-friendly. And all ID Buzzes, at least for now, come with heated, cooled, and massaging front seats. And there's no base model, at least for now, so expect these to be pricey. No pricing has been revealed yet, but expect it to start above the $55,000 price tag that a maxed out ID4 costs. One option you do get, though, is the option of either rear-wheel drive or all-wheel drive. The rear-wheel drive version gets the new rear motor from the ID7 that has 282 horsepower and 406 pound-feet of torque. The only detail given about the all-wheel drive version is that it'll have about 330 horsepower. So we don't know anything else about that one, but they'll both be powered by a bigger 91 kilowatt hour battery that's estimated to do about 260 miles of range in rear-wheel drive form and about 250 miles with all-wheel drive. And so yeah, that's about all the info we have on it for now, but I just am so excited to see the Buzz finally coming to production next year and have all the details here on the US version. And I can't wait to see these things start rolling around on the streets. And if you are someone who's going to get one of these, please get it in one of the fun colors. There's so many fun colors. I really love the variety here they're offering, and so yeah, hopefully these things will be brightening up roads in the next year or so here. Volkswagen has revealed the Golf R333 Limited Edition, which bumps power to 328 horsepower and the top speed to 168 miles per hour, and gives you the unique paint and graphics and not much else. The 0 to 62 mile per hour time is 0.1 second faster with that little bit of extra power, and only 333 of these will be built, but it's not coming to North America. But don't get too upset about that, because the price for this one in Germany is 76,410 euros, which at the current exchange rates is about $81,000 for a Golf R. I don't know where they're going to find 333 buyers. Maybe 33 buyers, maybe. But I don't understand. Like, there's nothing that justifies that price tag. I have no clue why they're this expensive. So anyway, there was some, hype and some teasers leading up to this. I'm like, oh, sweet, maybe there'll be a faster Golf R for, a couple $1,000 extra or something. Nope, it's 81 grand and we're not getting it anyway. But not too upset about that one. But man, I don't know how they justified that. Anyway, moving on here though. Range Rover has debuted the successor to the Sport SVR, the 2024 Sport SV. Sadly, it loses the awesome supercharged V8 and instead uses BMW's 4.4-liter twin-turbo V8 for a still very impressive 626 horsepower and 590 pound-feet of torque. That's 59 more horsepower and 74 more pound-feet of torque than that old SVR. It all runs through an 8-speed automatic, and it'll do a 3.6 second 0 to 60 and go up to 180 miles per hour. To slow down all the speed, they're offering carbon ceramic brakes from Brembo for the first time as an option, and that's the first time for a Range Rover at all. And they'll be dropping about 75 pounds off of the hefty 5,644 pound curb weight for this thing. If you'd like to further reduce weight for whatever reason, they're also offering the world's first 23-inch carbon fiber wheels that drop another 80 pounds of weight. The wheels are wrapped in Michelin Pilot Sport 4 all-season tires tires, and handling is further helped by an adaptive air suspension that can lower the car 15 millimeters in SV mode. The interior is also sportier, of course, with cool touches like illuminated and transparent paddle shifters, which is a really fun idea. There's also sportier seats here that include not only speakers for the 29-speaker 1,430 watt Meridian sound system, but they also have transducers in them to vibrate the seats to help you feel the music, they say, along with working with a wellness program to either perk you up or relax you depending on the mode. But it's very important to note that these vibrations will only be on your back, not on your bottom. So, which is good, and honestly, in all seriousness, it sounds like a cool idea, especially since it's just on your back there. And I would love to try that out sometime. I think it'd be very, very fun. And anyway, pricing hasn't been announced, but if you want one of the first year of these, you have to be very well connected, because Range Rover says that all of these Edition 1s, that's just all they're building this year, is going to be Edition 1s. They're only going to be available for select clients to order by invitation. So it's going to be a while before any normal person that's not well connected is able to get one of these, but sounds really awesome, really promising though. So awesome debut there. Chevy this week has debuted the Bison version of the 2024 Colorado ZR2. It has 35-inch tires on 17-inch beadlock capable wheels for a segment best 12.2 inches of ground clearance, which is 1.5 inches more than a regular ZR2. It also gets Multimatic bump stops, steel bumpers that are winch ready, wider fender flares, rock sliders, and several extra skid plates. The full-size spare tire is now mounted in the bed because it won't fit in the usual position under the truck there, which is a fun little factoid. All these additions do make it heavier, of course. It's 325 pounds heavier to be exact. And while the powertrain is the same as the regular ZR2, the Bison is the only one to get launch control for the first time. It only works in Baja mode, and they say it can intelligently adjust the launch depending on the conditions, so it can give you some extra slip if it thinks that it needs that, or less slip. And it may not be any faster though, since the gearing is the same despite the bigger tires. That oftentimes will make cars feel a little slower with those bigger tires. It also loses 230 pounds of payload capacity, dropping to 1,050 pounds, and towing drops by 500 pounds to 5,500 pounds now. But anyway, it'll be arriving later this year, and there's no pricing for those yet. And we have a few teaser images here this week. So first, and possibly the most exciting, depending on how you feel about it, is that Toyota has teased a new GR car that'll be revealed at the 24 Hour of Le Mans next weekend. And the car in the teaser here has been identified as a Prius, potentially because of the location of those tow hook covers. Apparently that lines up perfectly with where they're at on a Prius. And the lights, though, are pretty aggressive there in the lower front bumper, that if this is just like a GR Sport, which is, European and Japanese thing they do, which is just, giving you maybe suspension tweaks and a body kit, but no actual real additional performance, at least from the engine. If this is just one of those, then those are really aggressive lights for just what is essentially a body kit and lowering springs or something. But if it was also a genuine GR vehicle and it was like a full-blown GR Prius that was actually faster and stuff, I feel like there'd be more teasers leading up to this, and we would have seen more, heard more. We did hear a rumor a while back, a few months ago, about a GR Prius, but this seems too soon for that. I don't know. We'll have to see what ends up debuting here. The pessimist in me thinks this is just going to be a body kit or something, but I'd love to be wrong and this be some actual faster Prius right on the heels of the regular Prius and the Prius Prime. We'll have to wait and see. But anyway, just have to see what happens next week. Rivian has also teased their smaller R2 SUV during a live Q&A this past week. And it looks a lot smaller than the R1S. And if the vehicle under the covers there is full size, it almost looks like it could pass for a subcompact SUV. Like, it almost looks like Jeep Renegade size. I don't know if that's just the camera angle or what, but it looks like really small. Way smaller than I was even expecting, at least. But anyway, we'll see, what ends up happening. They didn't reveal much, but they'd say that the release date has been pushed back from 2025 to 2026. So, we got a while to go before this thing, is revealed and on sale and all that. So, anyway, but very interesting. Nice of them to, tease a little bit of the design. At least we see it's going to be very boxy and, should be, a cool shape, at least from what we can tell. And looking forward to seeing more. Porsche will be live streaming their 75th anniversary celebration on June 8th, where Porsche will be offering a look forward to its vision of the sports car of the future. They didn't reveal any kind of images or anything, unfortunately, for that teaser. It's just the, teaser of that statement, basically. But this sounds like it'll be a concept, clearly, with the vision thing. And we did already see the Porsche Vision 357 concept, which also celebrates 75 years. So it could be a variation of that or something else, like maybe a very concept-y preview of a next generation 911, or maybe a preview of the next hypercar, even though they said the next hypercar won't come until battery tech has evolved. And it could also be something else entirely. We'll have to see. I mean, maybe this could be our first glimpse at what the new version of the Cayman and the Boxster, maybe that, is something that's going to be shown here. We'll have to see. In other Porsche news, though, this week, they revised their logo for the first time in 15 years. And so thanks to the side-by-side comparison here, you can see that the bumpy texture has gone from the gold parts, and the gold is lighter now. And a mesh pattern has been put in place of the bumpy texture on the red parts. Plus, they've added back the Stuttgart lettering there that was on all the other Porsche badges until the last one. And the horse looks a little leaner now and more detailed than before. It took them 3 years to work on this and decide on these changes. And it's going to begin being placed on new Porsches beginning at the end of this year. So cool to see that. I think it's a pretty nice improvement. Some people aren't crazy about the red mesh part, but I mean, honestly, I didn't even notice the differences really until there's the side-by-side there, and I think it still looks really nice. Anyway, moving on. Volvo here has teased the EX30 again. And so this week we get a look at the front 3/4 of the car, the back 3/4 there, the dashboard with its 12.3-inch touchscreen that now features wireless Apple CarPlay, they say. And also we see some of the fabric colors that'll be available, which is really fun. It's like a dark green, kind of reminds me of like a very 70s color there. And, you see there's like a tealy blue and stuff. Really seems like it's going to be fun with the interiors on these. And they also showed off a few other little details, like the fact there's going to be a sound bar integrated into the top of the dashboard. And Volvo says supposedly that's going to be the only speakers in the vehicle. It's going to be those ones in the front. So not sure how that'll work out for rear seat passengers. There's also sliding consoles front and rear, and apparently they're doing something different with the glove box area and a bunch of other off-the-wall things. So we'll have to wait and see all the details and all that in the reveal, which will be happening on June 7th here. So just next week for the full reveal, and I'll be covering that here next week. Mazda's Australia marketing director officially confirmed to drive.com.au in an interview this week that senior management have confirmed there will be a next generation CX-5 that's coming. It's a top-selling model globally, so it makes sense. And when asked if it'll get a new hybrid version, since there was some rumors about, using some Toyota technology for a hybrid Mazda, and also Mazda themselves committing to doing a bunch of hybridized stuff here going forward, they said that that would be telling, wouldn't it? But as I said before, there's a new generation car coming eventually, but it's not next year, it's further away. So Drive claims that 2025 is when we'll be seeing this new CX-5, and it's likely to come to the US as well, since it's Mazda's top seller here too. But it's interesting because they're expecting it to keep the transverse setup and the front-wheel drive-based all-wheel drive system to keep costs and pricing down. But that part wasn't confirmed. That's just what Drive's expecting. But this is kind of surprising, though. They're keeping the CX-5 around, considering they're dropping the single-digit models with everything else in the lineup and going just the double-digit stuff. It's interesting. And we also, one key difference here, though, is that we do get the CX-50 in America, and Australia does not get that. So if maybe the CX-5 sticking around there because they have to keep it around because there is no CX-50, and I guess maybe they don't have any plans to bring the CX-50 to other markets for some reason. Here in the States, I still feel like the CX-50 could replace the CX-5 eventually, but maybe they will also ship over the new CX-5 here to us as well. We'll have to wait and see. So anyway, very, very interesting. I just did not expect to hear that a new CX-5 was coming, but, it certainly makes sense. If it's their top-selling model, they want to keep that name around for the recognition of it, and, if they don't want to rock the boat too much, you keep it around and just do a heavy refresh, basically, on the current one. I think, that could still be a winning formula. We'll have to wait and see, but anyway, interesting to hear that. And late last week, during a live Twitter chat between Ford CEO Jim Farley and Elon Musk, they announced that Tesla's 12,000 Superchargers will be opened up to Ford EVs in North America starting in the spring of 2024. And so this is really huge. And, while it's great news for Ford owners, I think it's also got to be really bad news if you're a Tesla owner, because for one, and not only just a Tesla owner, but also Tesla corporate, because this gives up one of their biggest advantages of having a really good charging network, which is something that can't be said necessarily about, some of the other chargers that aren't as reliable, that aren't Tesla chargers. And, of course, Tesla owners aren't going to be happy because they're going to have more crowded charging stations and, more chances for those chargers to also fail if there's more people using them that aren't familiar with them. And, it's a whole thing. So the reason why Tesla did this, it seems like, kind of a strange thing. Why would they do this and give up their biggest advantage and upset their owners? But the main reason is that they wanted to qualify for the federal incentives that were just passed in the Inflation Reduction Act. And so to get those incentives unlocked for companies, I think they have to expand the access to their charging networks and expand public charging in general. So I guess this qualifies Tesla for that if they open this up. And so I guess that money is worth more than the infrastructure advantage and all that. But also Tesla's senior director of charging infrastructure did also say that part of the motivation for them was their mission to accelerate the world's transition to a sustainable future and sustainable energy. And so, this is consistent though, because Elon Musk has also said in the past, that he doesn't mind giving up some of this stuff because he really wants to just, further the EV cause. And so, I guess it shouldn't really be a shock, but it's just, from a business standpoint, just still seems pretty surprising that they actually went for this. But anyway, as far as the logistics of all this goes, in the short term, owners of Mach-E's, Lightnings, and e-Transits will have to buy an adapter to connect to the chargers, because apparently Tesla is not changing their chargers. I think in other parts of the world, they were experimenting with, adding a CCS connector onto the Tesla Supercharger, but they're not doing that here. Supposedly, at least as far as the Ford deal goes, it's going to be on the Ford owners to buy an adapter to work with Tesla's stuff. And, so that'll be interesting to see. Now, the potentially bad news of this is there's been some mixed messages. So some Ford employees are saying that all the Fords are going to switch over to the Tesla connector for the next generation stuff in 2025. And that's what they announced, is that next generation Ford EVs in 2025 will start using the Tesla connector, which is also really huge that they're kind of giving in to the Tesla side of things with that. Now, some employees have said that it hasn't been finalized yet, that they could potentially do like a double port and still have a CCS connector in there as well. But this could really change the tide of charging as far as, there's all these new charging infrastructures and, all these networks that are popping up. And, it's like, well, do they now go for the Tesla thing? Do they go for the CCS? Everyone, it seemed like, had agreed we're all going to do CCS aside from Tesla. And this completely flips it the other way. And so now it's like, okay, well, now are we all going to jump on the Tesla boat as far as what plug we're using? Are we all just going to run around with a million adapters and it's going to be some big dongle thing like it's a MacBook or something? I don't know what the deal is, but I guess they have a little bit of time to figure this out. In the meantime, yes, it will be an adapter thing, which again is still great though. I mean, like, I own a Mach-E, and so it'll be great if we're on a road trip. If the adapters aren't that expensive, you buy one of those, and then you instantly you go from, I think about 10,000 charging stations in the Ford EV charging network, which includes several different networks, to now having, more than double that with the Tesla stuff. So, we'll have to see how this all, plays out for everyone, but a very interesting development there. Kind of crazy to see two unlikely partners, partner up here. Very, very interesting and a shocker there to hear that. And in some other shocking news here, Faraday Future. I don't know if you forgot about them, but they're one of these EV startups, trying to, build some cars here. One of the, more prominent ones that actually has good funding and all that. Anyway, they announced pricing for the FF91. And wow, is it crazy. Now, we've already seen the FF91. It's been several years they've been, working on these. But they announced the pricing this week. And so these launch editions will be starting at $309,000 for the top one, $249,000 for the next level down. And while it seems like an impressive car, no doubt, the Lucid, is much cheaper, and that Sapphire version is even faster, more powerful, and should have better performance as well. So on top of these prices, to add insult to injury here, they're offering a subscription service called AI Hypercar Plus that gives you an AI assistant in the car, along with including an internet plan for that whole thing, and also vehicle maintenance. And the introductory price for the first 2,000 people that lock in this special price, their price will be $14,900 a year. And yes, when you're talking about $300,000 stuff, not as big of a deal, but still, that's a really big price tag. And then you're making people pay you 15 grand a year indefinitely until you get rid of the vehicle for what is, an internet plan. Hopefully this isn't mandatory, because if they actually force you to have this, that is still, again, I know we're talking about supercar pricing here, but still like ridiculous to charge you another 15 grand a year for not very much. Something that certainly is not that even close to that much to actually, give you as far as cost goes. So anyway, don't know how that makes any sense. We will see, with these kind of prices too. I can't imagine more than a few hundred people a year buying these things at the most. That's kind of what Cadillac's expecting with the Celestiq. That's, $300,000 as well. At least they don't charge you a subscription that's 15 grand a year. But, with even those, it's a lot more customized. It's almost like Bentley and Rolls-Royce levels of customization for the colors, the materials, the finishes, all that kind of stuff, which I don't think you can do with the Faraday here. So I feel like the Cadillac is more high-end to justify that price tag. But for this, you have basically just like a Lucid competitor for way more money than a Lucid. So we will see how many techers they get for that, but yeah, very interesting to hear that one. And the last two debuts here this week are vehicles we don't get here in the US, but I thought they were interesting and worth covering nonetheless. So I'll briefly cover them here. So first off, Cadillac has revealed a new CT6 for China, where people still buy sedans in decent numbers. And so you can see it gets sharper designs here on the outside, and on the inside you get an impressive 33-inch curved display. And, I think it's a really nice look, and kind of gives you an idea of what we would get here. If the CT6 had been a bigger success and more people bought them, this is what we'd have here in the States. But anyway, at current exchange rates, it's priced at about $51,000 to start, and a loaded platinum only goes up to $66,500, which I think is actually pretty reasonable considering there's lyrics that get up beyond that, and you have a nice big sedan. Now, it's only like a thing that runs a 2-liter turbo 4 in China, so it's like 233 horsepower or something. Not very impressive from a powertrain standpoint, but still a really nice thing to roll around in for people who just want a comfy cruiser, and a pretty good price as well. The other vehicle that we don't get anymore here is the Volkswagen Touareg, which gets a heavy refresh in Europe. And so as you can see, it gets fresh styling and new IQ Light HD Matrix LED headlights that somehow manage to provide no glare, they claim, whenever it's oncoming. So it's very intelligent with the way it dims the lighting, so I guess that's how it avoids the glare. But yeah, pretty cool, and hopefully that's something they say that now that it's debuted on that, hopefully it'll trickle down to the rest of the lineup, because hey, no glare would be amazing. I would hope every car company copies Volkswagen and puts this stuff out very, very quickly. Other cool lighting stuff here is the red illuminated Volkswagen badge at the rear, and on the inside it's all new, of course, as well, and gets refined software for that 15-inch touchscreen. There's both gas and diesel turbo V6s, along with 2 different plug-in hybrids available there in Europe, and the top one is an R version that does 456 horsepower as a plug-in hybrid. And with current conversion rates, they started around $80,000 for the Touareg and top out at over $100,000 for that R version. So anyway, very interesting to see that. And lastly, I want to thank all of you that are members of the Maran Motoring Club. So we did have a couple new members join this week that joined thanks to the Truck and Car Guy's very generous weekly donations he does with gifting 10 memberships there to those that are in the live streams. And so most of those went to people that were previous members that were able to rejoin thanks to his gifts there. But there were 2 new members that joined here, so I want to give a special thanks and shout out here to Paul Fernando and Jean Nicolas for both becoming members and joining the Maran Motoring Club here. I hope you guys are enjoying all the perks so far, and be sure to also tune in to the live stream here on Sunday if you can make it, or all the members get priority answering, of course. And thank you again to all of you that are members in general. I really appreciate the support every week, every month, and many of you have been a member for over a year now, and I really appreciate all that support. And for anyone else that would like to join, there's always join buttons here on the video page and on the channel page, as well as a link in the description. But anyway, thank you all very much for watching. Please also leave a like, comment, and subscribe to keep these videos coming, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care.